Hey, this is Don Lewis with Gordon and the Whale. My review this week is of The Lovely Bones. Going into The Lovely Bones, I really wanted to like this movie. I'm a big Peter Jackson fan. I was hoping for the best, and this movie totally let me down. To be not engaged by a movie about the abduction and murder of a child is shocking to me. I'm the father of a young child, and for this movie not to pull me in at all was really surprising to me. I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that this movie just kind of is like, it exists in platitudes. Like there's all these moments that are supposed to be heavy or exciting, and they're not. They're not organic at all. One scene comes to mind is when Mark Wahlberg's building a ship with his daughter. He's building a ship in a bottle with his 13-year-old daughter. Because that's what 13-year-old girls like, Dad, is to build ships in bottles. All it does is give him an excuse to give a stupid speech about the meaning of life to him or something. And I like Mark Wahlberg. I've always liked his movies, but he's doing this thing lately when he's trying to be serious and have a serious conversation where it sounds like he's talking to a 1-year-old. Like everything's brand new to him and he has to explain everything in such a nice, quiet way. And what's up with that hair? It looks like a wig. If you're going to make a period piece, that's fine. Make a period piece. Put them in funny clothes, put them in bell bottoms, they drive an old car. At least get a decent wig and at least make the guy talk when he's being serious, like he's not talking to a 1.5-year-old who just ran with scissors. Just kind of a silly, silly movie. And scenes like that are just kind of cheap setups, because if you've watched the trailer or read the book or know anything at all about this movie, you know that girl dies. The little Susie Salmon girl. So automatically, the fact that he's building a sailboat in a bottle with her and giving her a speech about life is supposed to be sad because you know she's going to bite it in the next 10 or 15 minutes. Another scene like that that's kind of cheap is when this boy that Susie Salmon has a crush on finally gets the nerve up to ask her out on a date. He asks her, "What are you doing Saturday?" And the audience already knows what she's doing Saturday. She's going to be 8 feet deep in a pit in the middle of a field covered in dirt, never to be seen from again. And it's just really sloppy and cheesy and sad filmmaking that tries to set you up and have this emotional punch, but it just doesn't. So after this girl goes missing, they call the lead investigator in on the case, Michael Imperioli from The Sopranos, and he comes over to Stanley Tucci's house just for some basic questioning. And Stanley Tucci's home in the middle of the day. He doesn't have a job. He's just sitting around reading magazines and eating hard candy and working on his doll houses. Doesn't have a kid, doesn't have a job, builds doll houses all day. There's nothing suspicious about that. Cross that guy off the list. Don't look twice at him. Come on. And Michael Imperioli's investigative technique is to play peekaboo in this dollhouse with Stanley Tucci. He's looking at him through one window, then they're back on the other window, and then they're talking. And the whole purpose of the scene is so that Stanley Tucci's character can hide this bracelet that he stole from the girl he murdered. If you're planning a perfect murder and you want to take a souvenir, wouldn't you maybe not leave that souvenir just sitting on the coffee table? No, because then in this movie there'd be nothing exciting at all happening. I know nothing about Stanley Tucci. I don't know why he kills. I don't know if he steals souvenirs from other people that he's killed or other girls. I know nothing about him. This movie just exists on a surface level. It just doesn't work out for me at all. And Michael Imperioli, it's you must be the worst cop ever to not suspect the guy who's got a dollhouse in his house but has no kids. Come on. And no girlfriend. And no job. Weird. About halfway through the film, Susan Sarandon shows up, and we know a lot about her. We know she smokes cigarettes and she drinks. That's all we know about her. And we also know that when she's left alone with the kids, she can't handle it at all. She's like the father in every movie ever made that gets left alone with kids and can't handle it, only she successfully raised her daughter, who is Rachel Weisz in the movie. So clearly she knows something, but oh no, not in this movie. When the parents aren't around, she can't wash the dishes, she can't vacuum, she can't cook, she can't do anything. She's just a mess. She just knows how to smoke and drink. It's not funny, it's not engaging, it's not interesting. And I felt bad because Susan Sarandon's great. Give her something to do in this movie. Give her something to do besides smoke cigarettes and drink. She's just sitting there chewing scenery throughout the entire film. Another annoying thing about this film is it just speaks in platitudes. There's these moments that are supposed to pack this emotional punch, or people say things that are supposed to make you go, oh man, that's deep. The little girl who gets murdered, the little girl Susie Salmon, she says, "My name's Salmon. Susie Salmon, like the fish." Oh, like the fish? Oh, not the architectural movement of the late 1600s in France? Oh, you mean salmon like the fish? What the heck else is it supposed to be like? A salmon is a salmon, stuff like that where it's just corny and cheesy. And I got to say, I think the verdict's out on Peter Jackson as a filmmaker because he's got a decent cast here. better than decent. He's got Stanley Tucci, who's great, Susan Sarandon, who doesn't have anything to do, Mark Wahlberg, who, again, I like, but I'm starting to feel sorry for that guy, and Rachel Weisz, and the kids in this movie are good. Good source material, and the movie just doesn't do anything. It doesn't engage you at all. It's like a really pretty CGI movie that looks like a really pretty CGI movie with nothing going on. And it's sad because, you know, I like Peter Jackson, I like the cast of this movie. I'm a father myself, and for this movie not to engage you at all, it really surprised me. The Lovely Bones is just, it's not interesting, and it's not very exciting, and it's kind of long and kind of boring. Another problem I have with this movie is the youngest daughter, Lindsay, who survives. We're set up not to like her. Like, the grandma comes over, and they don't like each other. The parents totally ignore this poor girl through the entire film. And then about halfway through the film, we have to root for her because the killer starts stalking her. And that's another stupid scene. Stanley Tucci sees her jogging. Oh, that's what we know about the youngest sister. That's the character development we have. She likes to jog. That's all we know about her. And he sees her and he goes, "Hey, aren't you a salmon girl? There's about 500 people in this town, and they're probably the most famous people in the town because their daughter had been murdered. Of course she's a salmon girl. You know she's a salmon girl." That's a stupid thing to say. And I hate to say it, but the movie's just kind of boring and unengaging and just kind of stupid. I wish I liked it more, but I mean, I have to say, The Lovely Bones, just not a very interesting movie. And not even really a noble failure, just kind of a failure.